No cross-examination.
Thank you.
Yes. And I would ask, and I know that we've spent a lot of time, but we've just heard a very long and impassioned series of arguments, and I hope you'll give me some time to respond to what's been said in accordance with your code. Let me just say that truly, I feel for these people. I hear what they're saying. I understand that they're all concerned about this. That's clear. I don't question anybody's sincerity. I don't question anybody's motivation. I hear them. I have to say to you that it seems to me that there is a tremendous motivation of fear, which is something that is afoot in our community, in every community here in South Florida and elsewhere, where we all feel under assault and we all suspect the worst. We're not going to have 400 cars showing up because everybody has a birthday the same day. Even on holidays, some people go to their family. They don't always have them here. Excuse me.
Please
sir,
keep the talking to a minimum while somebody's talking, please.
I didn't interrupt anybody. Please let me speak.
I mean, not to a minimum. Don't talk a lot, at all when somebody else is talking.
The fact of the matter is, there are concerns, and I get that. But some of what you've heard, I don't question anyone's sincerity. But this parade of horribles, the worst thing that could possibly happen is just not so. Will there be more traffic? I suppose there will be some. There's a traffic study that was done. It was reviewed by an independent expert for the city that agreed with its conclusions. You can stand up there and say, we don't believe anything. We don't believe anything anybody did. They're all in on it. But the fact is, it was examined. Not everybody goes at the same moment. Not everybody leaves and comes back at the same time. There are standards for this. There are facts. Will there be traffic in the neighborhood? It's not within our control, but this city certainly has the ability to open up 130th Street so traffic can drain onto Dixie Highway. I would hope you would. By the way, I'm not the one in charge of that. That's the city. I would tell you, if you're going to do it, you should make it right turn only, so there's not a log jam of people trying to turn left on Dixie Highway. They can make a right and turn around a couple blocks up, but that would help tremendously in terms of draining traffic out. This is half a block from West Dixie Highway. This is basically, if there was a zone that extended back, depending on how the lots were drawn, this would be a big lot that was fronting on West Dixie Highway. You have just the church in between. I know there's a lot of fear. People say, oh, they're going to look into my backyard. By the way, the number of residents that are actually adjacent to it, as you heard, is not that many homes. But I feel for these people. But the reality is, big trees in their backyards will block that view. And we've offered to put trees there. We're paying for them. We've offered to provide that screening to respect their privacy. In fact, we've offered, and it wasn't our original idea, by having people park on our swale, basically. I understand the woman whose husband is handicapped. We're happy, frankly, and we've said this on the record, to put some additional landscaping, an extra tree or two, to make sure that his space is not the first one that's seen. We want to be good neighbors. Frankly, living next to a 6-story building, it's not like being in the 7th circle of hell. It may not be exactly what you were planning on, I get it. But every one of those homes is subject to being resold to somebody that's either going to do a 3-story townhome or maybe a tower in the NRO that makes ours look small. And they're not going to be financially hurt when that happens. I looked at some of the evidence that was put in front of you. These homes, by and large, were built in 1947, 48, 49, and I think the rest in 1950. They're 70 years old. Are they going to last to 100? Are they going to be there that long? I don't know, but let me say that even if they're that well made, they don't accommodate a lot of people, and this city made a decision 10 years ago. Now, I understand some people may not like this NRO, and mostly what you heard is people saying they don't like the NRO. My clients didn't pass this NRO. My clients didn't advocate for it. They weren't around. They came to this city, they looked at what was allowed, they looked at your code, and members of the city council, they believed you. They took you at your word. They believed that when you passed the law and implemented that law, that what you were saying was the truth, and they made a decision based on that. We're not looking to cut corners. We're not looking for special favors. We're not looking to be exempt from anything. We're not seeking the first variance. We've got a long way to go before we can bring this back to you for final approval. We went from 89 parking spaces. Right now, the last count that I saw has us at 106, and that doesn't count another 10 that could be on that swale. We're at the point, we're rapidly approaching the point where we're not even relying on bonuses for parking, where we're very close to meeting what the code called for before the bonuses. This is a good project. It's a respectful project. I understand people are afraid of crime. And then they talk about crime that's there now, that exists there now. The fact is, the state of this current lot as an abandoned lot with trees that people can hide behind is much more dangerous to this community than a security building that's going to be filled with people who are trying to protect their property values. They said it's going to be Airbnb. But you've got an ordinance, and we spoke at your planning commission, and we said we're happy to agree irrevocably to abide by what your ordinance says. Your ordinance prohibits short-term rentals. And this is a residential building. It's not mixed use. It's not bringing in people to come shopping. I mean, one of the people who spoke is already a commercial use in this neighborhood. And we're not that. These are going to be people who own these places, want to keep their property values up, and they want to be good neighbors. This is a good project. It is a project that is designed to meet the goals of your NRO, and I'll tell you, whether you tinker with it in the future or not, you were right when you adopted an NRO that said the way to move the city forward is to have their, I actually heard someone professing expertise say, this is going to reduce property values because there will be more good housing available, and that might depress prices. Really? You don't want more good, decent housing available to the citizens of this city? I think you would. And I think that's why you have an NRO that is designed for sustainability, an NRO that is designed to support some of the infrastructure development you want to do, because it's going to bring investment. If you want other people to come into this city and to move this city forward and to revitalize 70 and 75-year-old housing stock, you shouldn't say to them, we don't care what our code says. We don't care what we've adopted. We don't care because it will disrupt the lives of some neighbors who, by the way, may make out, despite the inconvenience, I don't want to discount that. I don't want to discount anyone's sincerity. But financially, they all stand to make out very well if you own property in that NRO, because when this one comes, you want it to spur other development 3 and 4 blocks from what's supposed to be your downtown area. If you ever want to have it
let's
downtown.
try to bring it home. Let's try to bring it home, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, let's try to bring it home.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I can only say this to you. Other people are watching to see if this city means it when it says it understands that not everyone is going to love it, but you want to move to the future. You want sustainability. You want some investment. You want to create a downtown located on transit corridors. That is all good planning. That's what modern planning calls for. And I don't envy any of you. I don't envy the choice you have to make. But the fact is, you have a law. These clients of mine have come in on the straight, on the up and up, and I tell you as I stand here today, we are still committed to doing anything we can, such as we did tonight with following the idea of having some swale parking on our property. We are still committed to doing anything we can to meet with these people. We will have another community meeting before we come back to you for site plan approval. I urge you, please, don't penalize this developer that's done everything right, that's followed the law, that's followed the code, and frankly gone above and beyond it to try to work with the neighborhood as best we can and to make this a model project. Please give us your vote on this item. This is only the conditional use, and the bonus units will be in front of you again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Attorney. So we come to the dais now.
Yes, sir. Public hearing is closed.
Public hearing is now closed. Well, it's been closed. We'll come to the dais for comments. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, well, Councilman, please. I would, since this is Councilwoman Key's district, I would ask if you want to go first, and I'll go after you. All right.
Hey, Mayor, since we have a court reporter here, before the councilperson speak, can you just say your first and last name so that her record can be clear? Do you mind allowing that, Mayor?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
She can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, Vice Mayor Carol Keys. Vice Mayor Carol Keys. This is really torturous to me this evening. I want to thank the applicant and the attorney and for working with the residents and trying to make their project as amenable and trying to work with the residents. I thank all the neighbors who came out here, and I appreciate this. And the people who spoke this evening, I think every one of them were my constituents in my district, and they've put their faith in me, so I will try to do my best for you, because I'm your voice, and that's why you elected me. That being said, I think the project in some ways is good. I think it could be worse for us. I think it could be mitigated, but that being said, staff has put out a report, and staff feels that the procedures and criteria for granting the CUP, the conditional use permit, the standards have all been met, and I feel they have not been met. Two in particular, that the proposed use will not have an adverse impact on use, livability, value, and the development of adjacent properties. And I feel that it will affect the adjacent properties. The other criteria is that the flexibility in regard to development standards is justified by benefits of community character. The staff is saying there's no flexibility. That's not the one I read, excuse me. and the proposed use is compatible with the nature, condition, and development of adjacent uses and structures and will not adversely affect the adjacent uses, building, and structures. Staff feels that the low-density family neighborhood, that there is compatible transition. I feel that this project will be adversely affecting these properties. Our comprehensive plan, we have a goal. And while we encourage integrated, goal one of our future land use element is we encourage integrated transit supportive redevelopment in order to enhance the economic base of the city, et cetera, while protecting established single-family neighborhoods. And I feel this project is just too much for this neighborhood. It will be affecting the neighbors. I have spoken to them. I'm the voice, and I just have a really hard time with this particular project. I know that there are rights. This is a 5-unit density project, and there are conditional uses, but the conditional uses are, they have to comply with our comprehensive plan. So, thank you.
Mr. Dizulme, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you,
Councilman.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a couple of things that was said from the applicant, the representation of the applicant, as well as the residents. I met with the applicant and, well, with the attorney about maybe a month and a half ago, and I was excited. Something new was coming. And I told him, yo, you know what, we may need some more trees there, you know, to make sure to block some usage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I must say, I did not realize the totality of the project until I started getting emails and phone calls from some residents. In fact, I was supposed to meet up with one of the residents, Mark. I'm sorry, Mark, couldn't do it earlier today, in reference to this project. Another point that I think, Mr. Geller, you said the firm did our best to meet with the homeowners and this and that. And one of the things that I must say, the representation of the homeowners in the area is not here. You have a lot of Haitian Americans who live around there, and what they do, and I don't know how we could work this out, Mr. Manager. The developers or people who are coming in to do projects, maybe they don't understand the nature of this community. A lot of the residents, the reason that they are not here, because they simply do not speak English, but a lot of their neighbors started telling them what to do, and they started calling us. Well, I received a lot of calls in Creole. And it's hard for me to support something when the community that we all represent, the same as Councilwoman Keys was saying, is firmly against it. I don't have any problem because I know there has to be changes come, and I need the residents to understand at some point we need to come up with some type of compromise, because we are a city that's looking for developers to come in, so there are gonna be some reasons. But in this instant, and I think I had a conversation with someone from the other party yesterday over the phone or text very briefly. I said, you guys have to make sure that the community come out and support your project. And that did not happen tonight. It was, I see, as far as the residents I'm referring to. So it is a little bit hard for me tonight to have 30 or however amount of people as an elected official against a project, and not even one resident say, well, this might work, this might be okay. I do like the project. I do think something needs to come. But I am saying we need to do a better job, or Mr. Manager, let the developers know there is another community that is impacted by these things, although they're not here. And there were some here, they left because they did not, they probably did not understand how this meeting is going, et cetera, but they do call, and they don't email, which I've received at least 25 emails. And I think a lot of us over here received these emails, but they called us. And I'm a little tired of, them not being part of the process. So I do think that the folks should have done a little bit more inclusive of making sure that the right representation is is there, and folks are at least say, well, you know what, this is bad, but you know, this might work at the end for my community. The other part I do need when we meet, Mr. Manager, sometime in April, to meet with staff, because I disagree with a lot of the stuff in the reports, and it's been a little pattern because I don't know if what's the interest they are working towards, or what's the code, what I could do as an elected official to make sure that the residents and the folks that we represent voice are being heard. I know it's legal, just like we've been heard, but not necessarily everything is legal that is correct, especially for the area. I remember very well when the LA Fitness wanted to come, a lot of people were against it. The same concern about overseeing stuff behind the property, folks like Keystone and this and that, which was very well taken. However, it happened to be a very wonderful project. I think I see the same potential with this project, but I would firmly ask, either we could have, I don't see the sense of all the community here, and I would ask for that support. So I'm a little bit hesitant about supporting it tonight, but I would also ask the residents. Something is coming. And if Mr. Geller, which I do believe he has, for the folks who are here, come out and make a lot of trying to compromise, please, we cannot, and we are not a city who's opposed to development. Something is coming. I personally love the project, but I don't live around there. So imagine if something like that were coming towards me. That would be another issue. I mean, I'll still support it. But I do feel that we have to take into consideration the residents and the support that we get from the residents. That's my only reservation. Thank you.
Who's next? Who's next?
I don't have any questions.
No? Well, a lot of times in life we are faced with difficult decisions, and that's why we are elected. We are elected to make decisions in tough times, in good times, and tonight is not too much of a good time. In this process, we have to consider the pros and cons, how it would benefit or go against the residents. That's number one. And second, how it would go for and or against the developer. We said many times that we don't want to be the city that keep rejecting developers. We don't want to keep everybody away from us, while our neighboring cities are, just pretty much taking off. We try our best to preserve and retain the dignity of the residents. And we also try to bring sensible development to our city. Yes, we would like to keep it a bedroom community as much as possible, but by the same token, we have to be responsible and we have to be aware of what era we are living in. Airbnb is not allowed in the city of North Miami. Short-term rental is non-existent according to our ordinances. And people complain about thieves, possibility of more people coming in. I mean, a thief could move into a single home easily, and we wouldn't know it. Now, my question, because this is a difficult time, and the attorney at the beginning, before we actually read is it ordinance or resolution? It's a proposed resolution, and it states, and I'm going to quote what the attorney says. Please note that only competent, substantial fact-based testimony or evidence will be considered by the board in deciding the quasi-judicial matters listed on today's agenda. Pure speculation or opinion not based on competent facts cannot be legally considered by the board in weighing the appropriateness of this application. So my question to you, Mr. Attorney, we pay you $220,000 a year. So this is one of the times that you're going to actually work for that money. First question that I have for you is that, is there anything in this, well, what's being asked of us tonight is for us to consider adding 62 units, right?
What you're being asked to consider tonight is to give the
Yeah.
applicant the bonus units.
The bonus,
You're not
62
approving-
units.
right, You're not approving a site, you're not approving the project, you're just giving the bonus units.
Just the bonus units. That's what we're voting on tonight.
That's it.
Is there anything that is presented to you to the public tonight? You think is it all allowed by the code, by the NRO that has been in effect for the past decade?
The applicant is following the laws on the books. So what they're doing is legally authorized under our code. I mean, they're following our code.
Okay. Now, but if denied tonight, then what happened? Can they appeal?
They can appeal to, actually, they appeal back to you as the zoning and I think zoning administration board. And if they lose there, then their appeal goes to court.
Okay. In your professional opinion, have you heard any competent argument based on factual evidence by either party?
Well, you all are the ones who decide what something's competent and substantial evidence. So what if you allow me,
Yeah.
I can give you what some of the points are.
I need you so I can decide.
Well, no, I don't make that decision.
No. I need your legal opinion so I can decide because I don't want.
Let me give you
Yeah.
let me give you what competent substantial evidence must be. It must be reliable or credible.
Yeah.
It must be factually based and not supported generalized statements. It must do more than merely create a suspicion or give equal support to inconsistent references. It must possess something of substantial and relevant consequences. It must not consist of vague, uncertain, or irrelevant matter not carrying the quality of proof. It must amount to more than bare allegations or objections because it must establish a justifiable reason for support of or opposition to an issue. It must be more than surmise, conjecture, or speculation. It must be based on something more than probabilities, guesses, whims, or caprices, but rather support a reasonable foundation for the conclusion reached. So yes, there was a lot of discussion tonight. A lot of it was not substantial, competent evidence, in my opinion. But my opinion doesn't count. I don't make
Okay.
the decision at the end.
Thank
of
you very much.
Mr. Mayor, can I say,
Go ahead.
just ask a question?
Sure.
And Mr. City Attorney, can we table that item until the next agenda? If we don't want to vote tonight?
It's up to you.
Well, we've had all the
Yeah,
discussion.
we'd have to do this all over again in 2
Now
weeks.
we would have to do it all over again. I mean, through the whole exercise. It's whole hog or no hog at all. We had the flying point. Come on, Mr. Clerk. Yeah.
So, Mayor-
Do we need a motion?
That's correct. We need a motion to approve item I.
Voilà.
Can
Mayor.
I ask a question?
Yeah, well, I had a question, and you were saying if it was tabled or whatever. the case
We'd have
was.
to do the whole thing again.
Is that what he was saying? You say we have to do what whole thing again? The actual the quasi
The whole 2
judicial-
hours that we just went through.
Here's my concern. I don't mind doing the 2 hours. They have to be, the residents has to be okay, and I feel that something somewhere was missing because the folks who are calling me, I don't see half of them here, and quite frankly, the applicant had no one here from the community supporting it. So if we could get that, I don't mind to another 2 weeks of whatever the case is to have this thing over.
Hold on a
That's fine,
second.
that's
Hold on.
So what you can do, Mayor, is if you want to continue this, you can continue it so that we've already had the public comment
Okay.
portion of the hearing, and then make a decision at the following. meeting.
Continue, not table.
Not table it, but
Okay.
continue.
Okay.
I make a
Mr. Mayor,
motion to.
And
Mr. Mayor, before we
Mr.
go,
Geller, I've spoken to him, and he's amenable to that.
Mr. Mayor, here's why I don't want to do that, because all of these people took their time to come here tonight and
Exactly.
speak, and I think we owe it to them.
Hold your applause, please.
I
Please.
get that we can continue this, come back in 2 weeks, not have any public hearing, and just discuss it and vote. I guess I'd have to ask what would happen in the
Let me-
next 2 weeks that would cause
let
us
me-
to we've done all this tonight. I don't want to ask people to come back out in 2 weeks. I don't want to have 2 more weeks of emails and phone calls, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Allow us to make a decision tonight. That's my.
Let me respond to my colleague, and I do understand what he's saying, but this is what I said from the get-go. I understand the residents because we are here because of the residents. However, I do understand the developer who said they have made some reach out to the community. My purpose of this to reach back, have a meeting, something needs to come up because here's what's going to happen.
We need a motion.
Yes, no,
You want to make a motion to
because
continue?
Just to answer Councilman Galvin's point, and I do support if we would move it without the comments because we already heard from the comments. But if there would be some type of agreement and more inclusive from the community, that was my only purpose because that was my concern because I saw a lot of folks that was there.
Did you make a motion? Did you make a motion to continue?
He's saying something.
I'll be bluntly honest. I sat with the developers. I think your project is very nice, and I said I think I was pretty clear at the coffee that we had that you needed to have some support from the community.
Oh, okay.
You don't have any support at this point that I can discern. I'm voting no tonight. I'm voting no in 2 weeks, and I just want to make it clear that if we do continue this, guys, don't hound me for 2 weeks, thinking you don't know where I'm coming from. It's not that your project isn't a wonderful one. And Mr. Staff, here's the situation I think we're seeing. I think the problem that all the developers are running into coming to us is that the projects are too big for the sites in which they want them to sit. I agree that this particular site has to be developed at some point. It's nice to think it would just be oak trees and brush forever. That's not going to be the case. But I was on the council when we adopted the NROs a decade ago. I think we're going to have to revisit those. The idea then was that you would buy surrounding property and scale up. So it wasn't meant to be just for one site. And if we, could tweak our NRO standards going forward, I think we should. If we have to put a hold on any NRO development, we should, a moratorium. But in this case, I wanted to be clear. I decided after hearing everybody speak tonight, without any discernible community support, I can't turn against the councilwoman who represents the area and the residents who live there and say, I'm against you. So I'll now allow the councilman to make
Can I make a motion to continue the item to the next agenda, please?
I'll second that with the understanding that please go and talk to the community and guys, it cannot be. But no, you are.
No, we are talking now. We gave you time to talk.
No, Mr. Mayor, I'm a little bit upset. I understand you guys are here, but I said I had received calls. There are other folks who are not here.
Okay, so you made a motion.
Let me ask you why. That's fine.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
I have a motion made by Councilman Bieneme to continue this item till next meeting. That motion was seconded by Councilman Desume. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Keys? Okay, so item passed with a 3-2 vote. So, to be clear, it passed. This item is continued till next meeting. Tab J. Jesus Christ.
Go ahead.
Tab J.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask we take a 10-minute recess to allow the room to clear so that we might use the restroom?
Okay. All right. We're taking a 10-minute request. We'll reconvene at 5 minutes past 10. Thank you very much. Please be quiet while you're exiting the room. It's still a council chamber. What is it? It's a freelance. It's freelancing.